All right, we're back for our final installment, part 4. How to talk about current trends in video game music in under 15 minutes, because all the other segments have gone a little bit longer than I had intended to. Sorry, I was very excited about our topic, obviously. There are so many things I wanted to cover, but rather than just give you small views into what's going on now, I wanted to give a more detailed look into a game that I found particularly fun and very different, and that's the Untitled Goose game. What's particularly fascinating about the Untitled Goose game is the idea that we're using music that's pre-existing. These are fragments of Claude Debussy's piano pieces. And what happens is, and I'll show you guys a little bit of the gameplay here. You're a goose, and your mission as a goose is to, in a way, create trouble. Occasionally you are peaceful, but occasionally you will be up to no good. And what happens is, as you engage in gameplay, the more disruption you create, the more kind of cacophonous the different musical layers become. What's nice as well is that, like, music, and there's initially no sound whatsoever until a particular point in the gameplay, which is a fun way of introducing kind of how important the musical cues actually are within the context of gameplay. Even one of the final sequences has this, again, a very basic kind of like heightened rhythmic evolvement that happens in order to make the scene that you're engaging with feel even more exciting. So the Untitled Goose game, let's go ahead and take a peek at that. Okay, so the Untitled Goose game is for the Nintendo Switch. We're gonna go ahead and start off basic gameplay. So you can honk the goose. No sound. We had some like empty piano initially in our beginning menu, but that was it. And the second you get into the pond, there's music and part of it is, of course, original sound design, but there's also these constructions of no sound design anymore. Oh, you have a to-do list. There we go. So again, you create problems, and there is notice that music is getting a little bit more intense. Notice as you get away with the key. And you've successfully gotten to the garden. So one of the things that's really nice about the sound design here and the underscoring elements is that your sound accompaniment is fairly sparse piano music. You are a simple goose, and you don't have a full orchestral accompaniment to you. You are just a solo piano. No one's noticing you, so you don't have any underscoring at this moment. The fact that there's no musical cue here helps you know that you have been sneaky, or at least successful in being sneaky, despite how much noise you're making. Nice work dragging. So there's no dialogue, but you can see what characters are thinking based on what is visualized in the bubbles above their head. In this case, again, you are successful in being sneaky because there is no underscoring right now. The gardener noticed you for a moment, so there's a musical cue. So music plays a role in letting you know when you are successful in doing what you ought to be, but also giving you like sort of motivation as a character to be a sneaky goose. There is recording of gameplay here that lasts, an hour and 20 minutes. The game is quite short, but incredibly satisfying to play. For those of you who have not played it, I don't want to go on for too much longer. So again, causing trouble. So there's a program called Max MSP that was used to take these fragments and align them based on like what is happening with the gameplay. So there's this very cool indeterminacy that is built into a part of the sound design and the scoring here that I thought was really, really quite fun and very different. Pleasant piano sounds, just a goose creating a little bit of havoc and chaos. In any event, that's a little bit of the Untitled Goose game. There are so many other things that are happening with independent video games as well. Such an interest in new developers coming out with new ideas that are not just a part of sort of our mainstream catalog. And lots of composers who are also getting into that field as well, where there were only a couple of key voices. Just to talk briefly about probably the game that a lot of people are playing, or at least I think a lot of people are playing because I particularly am playing it, but Animal Crossing, again, also released for the Switch, a game all about customization. And one of the features that once you are progressed far enough in the quote unquote storyline here is that you can create your own island tune. And that's, so like music plays a number of different roles in video games. It can be passive, environmental, it could be leitmotivic about like sort of pushing forth a story. In general, we've seen a growth for interactive trends where the character and how you as the character are interacting with the storyline is making decisions for the underscoring. And the idea of having these musical cues not be tied specifically with the visuals is very exciting for composers, I think. And has yielded a lot of really interesting scores. One of the probably claims, or one of the things that interests me most about video game music, aside from the fact that I think it's for the most part really well manufactured and thought through compositions for the most part, is that there's a whole new audience of people who are interested in watching full orchestras play pieces from these scores. And that I love. And there's really not a lot of difference between these video game scores being played by a full orchestra than like music that accompanies opera or music from the Romantic era. There's a lot of things that are very similar between like Stravinsky and Rimsky-Korsakov and the music of the very late Romantics and the early 20th century voices, and some huge sections of Final Fantasy, for example. And like I said, what is very exciting is seeing a whole new audience that is interested in orchestral music because of its inclusion in video games. And we're seeing more and more major concert halls and major orchestras put on concerts that include, orchestral reimaginings or medleys of music that's used from video games. And it's a lot of it is so epic and translates really well for a full orchestra. It's very exciting to listen to. And again, probably one of the more exciting things is just that it is getting a different kind, an audience in on orchestral music that might not have been as excited about it originally. And that's probably one of the purposes also of this class, is like to get you guys interested in musics that are related to things that you already listen to, and get you curious about other things that might whet your appetite. So without going on further about any more video games, as much as I might like to, I will close off our lecture and our final topic of the semester. I hope you've enjoyed these video lectures, and I hope that they have reinforced some of the ideas that we've gone over in the readings and the assignments, and that most importantly, you are more curious about the sound world as it surrounds you, and how to interact more thoughtfully with music that you encounter. So signing off for a little bit now, Professor George, thank you so much.